Hello and welcome. It's been a while since the last video I did about resonators and ranking them in accordance with their power. And with the release of several new resonators, as well as some deeper reading on my end, I think it's time we go ahead and change the list. The list will only include playable resonators, as ranking someone like Cristoforo or Geshe becomes a bit difficult without a full comprehension of their abilities and their forte. Cristoforo, for example, could be even stronger than Rover, including Leviathan's power that he managed to siphon from it. However, this list is based off of interpretation, and naturally interpretation leads to some form of biases. I will also be adding an honorable mention section near the end of the video to include others who could be on this list but I found to be rather unconvincing. And with this out of the way, let's go ahead and start with number 1. And of course, to absolutely no one's surprise, we have the Rover themselves at number 1. The only resonator to be able to swap between multiple attributes to not lose their humanity, Rover has canonically cut open black holes, defeated the fallacy of no return solo, which is powered by stars, as in plural, defeated Leviathan, and is the so-called protagonist of the story Cristoforo is plotting for the future. Spectro, Havoc, and Arrow, Rover can canonically heal, destroy frequencies, and even slow the march of time. And I mean, are we really that surprised that Rover is up here at number 1? And in second place, again to no one's surprise, is the Shorekeeper. Older than Tethys, controlling of space, she is one of 2 instances required to fix reality itself. Capable of cracking black holes like they're little more than glass with little to no effort. The Shorekeeper also has regeneration higher than that of Frolova's, capable of withstanding being torn asunder by going beyond the event horizon of a black hole, as well as being able to take the suffering and pain of a whole civilization. Capable of short-range and long-range teleportation of not just herself, but of armies. She is always there watching Rover and ready to aid him. The Shorekeeper's biggest strength is her durability as, of course, she was made to endure. However, her true strength lies in her humanity. Her attack chains generate singularities and she manipulates stars with ease. The Shorekeeper is Rover's equal, meaning that, for the time being, Rover and Shorekeeper are kind of interchangeable for first and second. And up next, naturally, will finally be a Sentinel Resonator. Defeated by Rover and admitting to being weaker than Rover, we have Cartethia, an expert swordsman, elegant fighter, and capable of splitting and merging matter itself. A misconception is that she resonates with Rover, but this is actually not the case. They both, Cartethia and Rover, resonate with a different part of Imperator. However, she has far more combat experience and experience using her abilities than Jinchi does, which is why I place Cartethia higher than Jinchi. She's also capable of fighting both Cristoforo and Scar, though to be fair, Cristoforo is focused on his play, not really engaging her, but defending from her onslaught. Able to help form chains out of mankind's hope and channel them around Leviathan. We see that Imperator has not left her. Her divine half was with Imperator, not with Leviathan, and Cartethia is now freed from the burdens of Leviathan and the Thernodian. She's also capable of aura farming so hard the Tessa Discords, including Overlord classes, will begin to bend the knee. Having a liberation so powerful that she can break my own GPU, it is of no surprise that Cartethia is here in the top 3. And up next, we have Galbrenna, and I'll just go ahead and start off by saying she was able to get stabbed in the gut and not die, unlike Frolova, multiple times. Anyway, this might come as a surprise to some of y'all, but she is low-key just kind of cracked. She has bound and defeated multiple Overlord-class Tessa Discords by herself, can purify the Dark Tide, and did the impossible task of entering into Rover's mindscape and not going insane. As, of course, according to the Dollmaker, you risk sanity by even approaching it. Combined with her high levels of survivability to the point where she has survived being impaled multiple times, mind you, was chosen by Cristoforo to help defeat Leviathan, and the ability to ignite a spark of faith within others, Galbrenna not only has this, but the ability to fight like a Bayonetta does and put her guns on her feet. She can see the unseen fly and burn away corruption. If anyone could kill Frolova permanently, it would be her, as of course, she might even be able to just steal Hecate from Frolova. Galbrenna was, of course, able to, under specific circumstances though, bind Leviathan and imprison it at the Black Shores. It's like she was given a weaker version of Six Eye, Sukuna's RCT, Mai's Curse Technique, and Yuji Itadori's body. She's just straight up broken when it comes to normal resonators. one who didn't help her people fight in the battle against the Thernodian, one who is still learning her powers, and one who has a lot of potential. However, potential does not equate to power. She has the temporal mandate, but this does not mean she can immediately turn someone into dust, nor does it mean that she herself is immortal and incapable of aging. In fact, it's more like a shackle. Real mastery of time lies with Instance 1, not with Jue and the temporal mandate. Jinshi can never have a true level of mastery over time, only ever engage with it in limited and confined manners, which we see Jue himself also engages with time in those limited and confined manners. Jue, for example, could not fast forward time and could not rewind it except on specific individuals and their frequencies. He can, and by extension perhaps Jinshi can, stop time in an area. However, Sentinel resonators should be immune to this phenomena, as Sentinels themselves exist beyond typical flows of time. We also see with Chongli and the Court of Savante that it's actually possible to just bypass time stop altogether in this world. It's not nearly as powerful as Dio. Jinshi herself is a good and kind person who worries deeply about her people, but she is no commander nor fighter. She has an overwhelming sense of power that she channels with beauty and grace, but you can hardly call it skill when compared to Cartethia or even Augusta. That said, she's most certainly more powerful than everyone else on this list. That said, some common misconceptions are that she's as strong or stronger than Jue. Jue is actually one part of a Sentinel which split itself into 7 different parts. This means that Jue should be far weaker than Imperator and Leviathan, and she even struggled to match Jue, not surpass, but match. She's carried rather highly simply because of the temporal mandate, but she does not have a mastery of it yet. She just learned it, meaning that she still has a lot of potential, but not a lot of actual use for her power. Jinshi, objectively and fairly, can't be placed too high on this list simply by virtue of how vague she is, and also with Jue being far weaker than other Sentinels, as well as sickly and dying when she fought it. And up next we have the Effer of Septimont herself, Augusta. Augusta casually moves at speeds faster than lightning, is perhaps the most physically skilled resonator outside of Rover themselves and maybe Cartethia. The Effer's resonance ability is magnetism, which allows her to bind weapons together to use as her breaker blade. Capable of fighting against Rover, albeit losing the fight, her speed is both one of her greatest assets and one of her hindrances against someone like General Jian. Jian was given a forte of sheer power and talent and trains his own body to continue fighting. Augusta, for her part, was capable of resisting the Dark Tide itself. And not only that, but breaking out of it after already being consumed by it. This is an incredible feat of not only durability, but mental fortitude and sense of self and identity. Outrunning her fate, the Effer is both highly skilled with a high mastery of her forte, but just like General Jian, she also relied on Rover's help when defeating their respective final boss. Not only this, however, she also fought tacit discords that can plan, think, and plot like humans do, making them far more dangerous than normal tacit discords, essentially fighting people like Frolova. In an objective sense, Augusta's feat of survival is far greater than Frolova's own regeneration. While Frolova's body can still die, she has the benefit of her consciousness and psyche being preserved in the Lost Beyond, a realm near the Somme Noire. Augusta, however, was a reverberation. She was being eroded away, torn down until nothing remained of her, and she still managed to become her own sun, and the sun for Septimont. Her willpower, self-determination, insane speed, and immense skill easily ranks her in this position. And now we have Frolova, commanding the tacit discord known as Hecate. She is rated a calamity level. While it is undoubtedly weaker than Dreamless, it is undeniable that it would pose a serious threat to other resonators on the list below her. In addition to this, she can create a sonarosphere and take people into the beyond itself. Inside of Hecate's stage, it says that the feelings of despair across the world converge into it. The creation of a sonarosphere is a difficult one, but destroying or breaking free from one? Not so much, unfortunately. There is one thing pointing against Frolova, and that is how frail she is. Frolova, while being immortal, can still be killed by any normal human means. Even after fully restoring her body and power, she was defeated really swiftly by Rover. Just a sword thrust through her heart was enough to stop her. Even Augusta put up more of a fight. She might not have died in the normal sense, but she could no longer summon Hecate, at least for the moment, as she had to undergo frequency reconstruction. Any resonator who can fight on an equal level as Hecate has a chance to just outright permanently kill Frolova herself. In addition to this, damage she takes makes using her power more difficult. However, she can create portals to just straight up leave. She has plenty of escape options, a powerful resonance ability, though she herself lacks fighting skills. Relegated to being a supporting role in Cristoforo's play, we see exactly how others in her organization view her. She lacks the chaotic nature of Scar, the raw power of Cristoforo, and infinite potential of death that the Grand Architect has. Her domination of others' frequencies, manipulation of tacit discords, and overwhelming power rank her fairly high. However, her lower levels of mastery for her forte and mental instability as well. At best, moving as fast as the average resonator, she isn't as high as one may think, relying entirely off of Hecate. Do not mistake her few weaknesses for meaning that she is easy to kill, however. She herself commands a power that demands the respect of a Calamity class. Should she desire it, she can unleash the havoc of tacit discords and rend cities asunder. Those who lack the endurance or sheer power will inevitably succumb to despair itself. They shall succumb to the one who stands between life and death, the gateway to the beyond, Hecate. In my previous list, I put Jian below Changli, but after replaying the story in its totality 2 more times, I've come to the conclusion that General Jian simply has better feats. From being one of the few resonators to just solo defeat an overlord class in the main story to being able to keep up with the dynamic situations of battle. While Changli might be more strategic, General Jian can comprehend, understand, and calculate a tactical response far faster than Changli can create a strategic one. Being knowledgeable of medicine, plants, and the human body in general, General Jian is more suited to precise strikes even more so than Changli. Despite Changli's immense speed, being chosen by Sentinel Jiwei itself means that General Jian's power and abilities must be strong. While he is weaker than his predecessor Geshu-Lin, he is far more human than he ever was. General Jian can also literally just see more. His eyes allow him to retain information in highly moving situations, allowing him to constantly create and perform tactical responses nearly instantly. When it comes to prodigies, Jian, I would say, is perhaps the prodigy of seeing. Being able to fight using both a broad blade and a spear at the same time, summoning the Qin Long to protect and keep everyone safe. But most importantly, he is intelligent enough not to fight alone and also relies on his fellow soldiers just as much as they rely on him. And now onto Changli. She has moved down a decent bit. While yes, she burned a Sonorasphere, this feat isn't as crazy as one might initially realize. No, it isn't because it was designed to be burned, but it's actually because of the nature of Sonoraspheres themselves. Sonoraspheres hold essentially information of a time and place, and can be artificially created and implanted. If you do enough changes inside of a Sonorasphere that's against the data, it should result in it essentially burning out, crumbling, or ejecting that excess information. Burning a Sonorasphere is, in fact, a pretty substantial feat, but it's not exactly a wild one. Creating one is more impressive than destroying one. However, she also has an immense mastery over her forte and will no longer burn away her lifespan, which is extremely impressive. Fire that burns so strongly not even time can resist it. Extreme levels of speed outside of the dodge, she can close her distances very swiftly, but not as fast as Augusta. She can fight many tacit discords and Fraxidus members at once, like many people on this list. While her physical strength is not as good as Augusta's, nor her forte as powerful as Genshi's, I do believe that Changli's strategic mindset, self-control, and understanding that she deserves a spot on this list. Yes, I know I did this list backwards, but come on, there's no real thought or weighting behind who the top 4 most powerful are. But anyway, here are some honorable mentions who didn't quite make the list. We have Encore, and while many of you might have expected Encore to be within the top 10, I'm sorry to say that she relies mostly on potential, and not what she is actually shown to be capable of doing currently. Encore's forte relies on the emotions of others and is a poor matchup against resonators who can control their emotions, which are, in fact, most of them. While she can fight off multiple Tacet Discords and defeat many resonators herself, she herself is not much of a fighter nor skilled and relies on Uncle Alto. Also with Verena, we see that she is prone to just eating random mushrooms she sees, so it's quite possible she'll just, well, eat a mushroom and die. However, if we ranked solely off of potential, then she would be right behind, well, Cristoforo, Rover, Shorekeeper, and Genshi. And now onto Calcaro, yet another character I'm sure many of you thought would be on this list, and one I was surprised didn't show up in the top 10. Calcaro is kind, caring individual, but one marred by tragedy of the war for survival, a big shot in the New Federation and contracted by the Black Shores for an operation to save Renacida. It's clear he is strong, however, aside from combat experience and a forte meant for war, he is not that exceptional. This is, however, mostly due to the fact we don't see him often in the story, and have only speculation to go off of, which again aligns with just potential. Not only this, his risk of overclocking is severe, which means that he might even just die in combat, due to himself as opposed to his enemies. Everyone else on this list doesn't have such a diabolical counter to them. When it comes to hunting Tacet Discords and your normal ne'er-do-wells, there's no better hunter than Calcaro, but when it comes to calamity-ending threats, at best he is relegated to the side. Given his immense potential, this could change in the New Federation, where it's said that he is rather popular. Calcaro's greatest weapon is that of stories and rumors. He doesn't need to inherently be exceptionally strong if everyone believes he is. He just needs to be strong enough to stop the next guy coming up, which of course invites even more rumors. Calcaro is a master of war, but war is best won without any fighting. And then up next, we actually have Zani, who is definitely a contender for 10th place, right behind Zhang Liao. Zani is a very intelligent, hardworking, skilled, and mentally stable individual. The only thing she lacks are essentially those unique feats that require some level of super speed, manipulating reality, stopping time, or a forte that lets you enslave Tacet Discords. Zani herself is easily in the running for top 10, but I found to be slightly less convincing than our 10th spot. And now we have the prodigal son himself, Zhang Liao. His forte is Matter Weaver, and he seems to resonate with thunder itself, giving the impression he has a weaker and more difficult form of matter manipulation like Cartethia has. Not as elegant, but still dangerous, as he himself can manipulate his nearly indestructible arm. While not a traditional fighter, he is still trained in self-defense and combat enough to be able to go on solo expeditions, meaning that he would have to, at the very least, be capable of fighting an overlord class himself before he even resonated. A genius and natural-born prodigy, Zhang Liao has a required intelligence, but more than this, his age gives him far more, well, unfortunately, potential. While potential does not equal power, one cannot overlook the fact that Zhang Liao is only, well, 18 to 19 years old, and through his own merits, unlike Genshi, became the principal investigator, a better inventor than Mortefi, command of thunder greater than Yuan Wu, and skill enough to investigate ruins and dangerous locations solo. One might just mistake him for being Rover, just like Yang Yang did. Not only this, unlike Calcaro, he was full-on invited to the Black Shores, implying that in terms of saving the world, Zhang Liao is far more useful. Honestly, this number 10 spot could be replaced by several people within the honorable mention section, but due to the internal recognition of the world itself, I have to give the slight edge to Zhang Liao. But what do you all think? Let me know what you all think about the resonators as well as their placements, and let me know if you agree or disagree with them. Who do you think the most powerful resonator is in general? Do you think it's Cristoforo or maybe the Grand Architect? And do you think that I should include non-playable resonators in the future, such as Geshu Lin or Cristoforo? Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.